White House Live with more on the tentative border security funding deal. That is Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on the floor of the Senate talking about this. So as he continues there, let's bring in our headliner, White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley from the North Lawn. How you doing, sir? On a chilly day in Washington, D.C. Thank you for your time. Do you believe, we're trying to figure this out as we go, do you believe you have something the president can sign?
We're not sure yet, to be quite honest, and I'm not really ready to focus on what could be in there. I'd like to focus on what is actually in there, and we haven't seen that yet. We've heard some rumors, and we've heard some reports. We've seen some reporting on exactly what could or could not be in there, but it doesn't jive with what we're hearing. It's not consistent with what we're hearing coming out of the conference committee. So until we actually see it, it's very difficult to comment on it. I will tell you the president obviously wants to protect the American people. He's been clear about what he wants. And so far, all we've heard from Democrats are a proposal that included letting people out of jail who are convicted criminals. Some of those include rapists and murderers. That's completely unacceptable. So if that kind of language is still in there, if they're going to stand by that particular proposal that ICE can't arrest criminals, and the ones that are in there that are in overflow have to be released, we've got a whole nother situation on our hands. And the only thing that's missing from the Democrat proposal, if that is still in there, in fact, is a proposal from them that tell us exactly which districts of their own that they'd like for us to put those criminals into, because that's just a ludicrous notion on its face. So until we actually see the language, it's very difficult to comment on something that that isn't in front of us.
But you've clearly, Hogan, been in communication with the president. How optimistic is he that something is going to get done? Again, this deadline's Friday. That's quickly approaching. Where is the president's expectations at this point?
Well, look, the president, let's talk about the expectations of the American people, and that's that they want safety and security. They demand it from their federal government. That's where the president is. You heard him speaking from El Paso last night. That position hasn't changed. He took a constitutional oath to protect the people of this country. He's going to do that at every turn. He's going to do everything within his legal authority and power to protect us as citizens of this country, and that's where he wants to be. So until we actually see this language, it's very difficult to say what the president will or won't do because we don't know what's in it at this time.
The White House position is that this was a ninth-inning move by Democrats, right? That's where you are right now? The request for beds and limitation of beds. Where do you think that came from, Hogan?
I have no idea. Probably from their, I guess it could be from their desire for open borders.
But did you see it coming, or was this a total surprise? How do you characterize it?
I don't know that anybody saw it coming. It seems like a total surprise, and I would imagine most of the American people are surprised too. And as I mentioned before, when an entire political party decides, hey, here's a good idea, anyone who's convicted of a crime, if there are too many beds, we just let them out into American communities. Oh, and here's another idea. We're going to prevent ICE from protecting the American people by arresting known convicted criminals. I mean, the insanity of that proposal, I think, quite frankly, is facing extreme backlash. Because, again, where are these people who are convicted of crimes going to end up? If we let them out of jail, where do they go? They go directly into American communities.
Hogan, before we move to the next topic, so have you been in communication with the president this morning? I mean, we continue to see reaction pouring. We haven't heard from the White House. What has the president said on this morning?
Well, I've spoken with the chief of staff. I've not spoken with the president yet. Look, they got home last night about 3:30 in the morning from an incredible rally with massive crowds in El Paso, doing a great job taking that message directly to the American people without the filter of cable news pundits, beltway bureaucrats. So I haven't spoken with him this morning, but the chief of staff had a meeting early. We were all in his office, and he made it very clear. Until we know what's in it, it's very difficult to comment to say what we will or won't take because we don't know what's actually in the document. We don't know what nuances are put on some of the stipulations. So until we see it, again, I hate to tell you, I don't know where we stand, but we don't because we don't know what's in the document.
A couple more things to go through, Sandra.
All right, Gavin Newsom in California, the governor there is pulling 2/3 of their troops from the U.S.-Mexico border. Here he is making that announcement. Want to hear where the White House stands on this.
The crisis on the border is a manufactured crisis, and we are not interested in participating in this political theater. Some of those efforts are legitimate efforts that the National Guard has been engaged in on the border related to drug issues and related to gun trafficking. Those issues remain real issues, not manufactured issues.
The governor's clearly taking on the president's claim that this is a crisis, calling it manufactured and saying this is nothing but political theater. How does the president respond?
Well, it's ridiculous because it wasn't a manufactured crisis when Barack Obama called it one from the Rose Garden. Obviously, I doubt Mr. Newsom would have said that then. But even so, let's just take a look at this. The Department of Homeland Security requested the assistance of these troops to go down to the border because we need the help and protection. And what I can't understand is why Mr. Newsom would say, hey, everyone on the border, my law enforcement folks at the local level from the state of California, we're going to put their lives in danger. They're the ones who are on the front lines, right? They're the ones who put their lives out there every single day protecting the people of their state. And the troops that went down there weren't an enforcement mechanism. They were an assistance mechanism to undergird and help the folks down on the border to let the local officials do what they were meant to do in the first place. So I can understand why this person would want to strip the safety and security, not just from the people of California, but from his law enforcement officials who are on the front lines every day facing dangerous situations.
The governor of New Mexico did it as well. One more thing here. You mentioned the El Paso rally last night. Just want to play a quick clip here. You know what has been hot on the left? It's been the Green New Deal. We've been talking about it for days now, and here's what the president said about that last night.
But if you want to really see something, go outside. Tens of thousands of people are watching screens outside. We were all challenged by a young man who lost an election to Ted Cruz. We have, let's say, 35,000 people tonight, and he has 200 people, 300 people, not too good. In fact, what I would do is I would say that may be the end of his presidential bid.
So that was the wrong clip. That was on Beto O'Rourke. Quick reaction on that, then I'll play the clip that we had planned here.
Well, look, it was in Robert Francis O'Rourke's hometown. He probably should have got a few more people. The president always draws massive crowds because the people want someone to speak directly to them and be honest about the situations we face. The president did that last night.
All right, here's the Green New Deal from El Paso now. We've got it. Watch.
Who the hell wants to change what we're doing now? We are a hot, hot country. Last week, they introduced a massive government takeover that would destroy our incredible economic gains. They introduced the so-called Green New Deal. It sounds like a high school term paper that got a low mark.
The crowd enjoyed that comment. AOC responded the following way to the president. Yes, a man who can't even read briefings written in full sentences, providing literary criticism of a House resolution. Then she had a link to a Washington Post piece. Your reaction on that back and forth, Hogan?
Well, first of all, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez said that the world was going to be over in 12 years anyway, so I don't know why we would spend money on a deal if the world's going to come to an end. But second of all, listen, it is so ridiculous to have a conversation about eliminating planes, eliminating travel in that manner. I can't imagine what the elected officials from Hawaii and Puerto Rico are going to do, wait for the train rails to be built all the way across the oceans to their home districts. It's absolutely ludicrous. And to give everyone some type of payment who aren't willing to work, I mean, on its face, it's just absolutely ridiculous. The American people understand that. It's not feasible, and it would hurt so many across this country.
She says the media's run with a lot of things that are not really in this Green New Deal, some of which you just mentioned. Has the president really asked for the facts and the inside figures into that deal? Has he looked into it?
Absolutely. It's hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. And for her to say the media is running with a false story, they are in many instances because they're not using exactly what Representative Ocasio-Cortez put on her website, which were the things I just mentioned there before. So to end all air travel, to retrofit every building on the planet in this country with some type of green energy is absolutely ludicrous. It cannot be done. It would hurt some of the poorest among us. They ought to know better than that, but sadly they don't because they're beholden to this radical base that wants the country to run on unicorns and gumdrops, and it's just not going to happen.
Almost out of time here. Quickly, in Virginia, how close is the White House and the president following this? He made a comment about it last night and the problems there for the top three leading Democrats in that state.
Well, look, I can just tell you that the hypocrisy here knows no bounds. Anytime a Republican is accused of anything, they rush to get them out of office. They rush to put them in jail. And when a Democrat is accused of something, they take a wait-and-see attitude, a due process attitude. The due process part is correct. I just wish it was universal across the board instead of just for their own political party. Sadly, though, the hypocrisy of the Democrat side knows no bounds.
Do you see a way out of this for them?
I'm not sure. I mean, that's up to them to decide. But look, I think the American people now completely understand the score here, that Republicans never get afforded the option of due process. We're always guilty until proven innocent, which is not the way this country was founded. Sadly, Democrats get that benefit. And so it's up for the people of Virginia to decide and the Democrats to decide.
Hogan, what should we look for next from the president as we all count down the minutes to this next deadline?
Well, actually, I'm about to go into a meeting as soon as I get off camera here into the Chief of Staff's office. We're going to take a look at some of the pieces of the deal that potentially have rolled in, and hopefully we'll have some more information later in the day. But the president will protect the American people at all costs. That's what he's took an oath to do. And so regardless of what the Democrats want to do about letting criminals out or building part of the wall, the president's going to take a look at this in a comprehensive manner and do what's best for the American people. It's what they deserve.
Well, we're on the air till noon here, so
I can come back
you need
out.
to jump back on and give us an update. All right, Hogan Gidley at the White House for us. Thank you.
Some military families say their private base housing, again, private base housing done by contractors, is full of lead and mold and rats and roaches. That's according to a survey from the nonprofit Military Family Advisory Network. I want to show you some photos. These are from a family in Maryland who participated in that survey. They say a rainstorm caused the flooding, and that exposed lead paint, and the lead paint made them all sick. We've reached out to the housing company Corvius, I should say, and a spokesman tells us providing housing for our armed service members is a privilege, and Corvius is making changes necessary to meet the gold standard level of service both we and our residents expect. Well, the point is, from the families, they haven't gotten gold level. Some military families are testifying about their experiences today at a hearing on Capitol Hill that's ongoing, and Jennifer Griffin's monitoring it for us. She's at the Pentagon. Jen?
Shep, the testimonies we've heard today are heartbreaking in terms of the impact on the health of the families and children of the nation's 1.2 million service members and represents a major readiness issue. These photos are from inside some of the affected homes on MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, and Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas. 3 of the thousands or so military families who have complained about poor housing conditions testified before the Senate Armed Forces Subcommittee moments ago. They blamed birth defects and disease on the slum-like conditions.
I have felt the helplessness of a fellow Marine Corps spouse as she held her new baby and sobbed while we stood under a collapsing, moldy ceiling in her home at Camp Lejeune. I listened in horror as families at Camp Pendleton told of mice eating through pacifiers and their babies' cribs and electrical outlets catching fire due to wiring issues.
Constant sore throats, nosebleeds, brain fog, blurred vision, numbness, fatigue, debilitating headaches. Even the 4-year-olds complain daily of these headaches along with dizziness. Knowing headaches are not normal for a child of that age, I was concerned they may have cancer.
The Military and Family Advisory Network ran an online survey last month that received 16,000 responses from military families across the country, finding that 56% of those surveyed found living conditions in base housing was negative or very negative, with 6 base housing contractors mentioned over and over by respondents to the online survey: Lincoln, Balfour Beatty, Hunt, Corvius, Wynn, and Michaels Military Housing. We've reached out to those contractors. Some of them are testifying right now before the Senate committee. All of them responded and vowed to address the problems, but senators looked shocked as they looked on today and heard these women's testimony, Shep.
Wow. Jennifer, the housing system, tell us how that's set up.
Well, in 1996, conditions on U.S. military bases were so bad that the military privatized 99% of the base housing for active duty troops. Contractors moved in. It seemed like a good deal for the government. The Pentagon issued the following response, quote, each military department has processes in place to resolve tenant issues with privatized landlords, starting with contacting the private partner and installation housing office. If that does not resolve the issue, the resident can approach the installation commander and or the local inspector general to file their complaint. All three of the military spouses we heard from in testimony today said the chain of command in the military had failed them. It was only after a Reuters news agency published an expose that they were finally heard.